So, representational models that Karen Barad is talking about are made of 3 parts. Yeah, can you quickly revisit them?
Knowledge, known, and knower.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You hear it on the other side? Yeah. And how do you understand that in relation to an artwork? This model, how it applies in relation to an artwork? Any artwork. Painting, a sculpture, a theater production. What do we have? Sorry?
Also,
Maker.
Is the knower?
Yes. The artwork and reality. Reality artwork maker, or reality artwork audience, or audience actors playwright. Yeah. This triangular model goes back to Aristotle in his book on rhetoric. He says that there is a kind of triangle when there is the speaker, the message, and the audience. And you need the whole 3 in order to have rhetoric. For instance, Sasha, which I kind of think that perhaps in the question of curatorial ethics is also can only be visible when you have 3 poles, which is the curator, the artwork, and the audience. If, let's say, the point of the audience is missing, then
I would say like it's about the artist, artwork, and its presentation by curators, separate things. Because it's exactly as you say, like the foundation of ethics, like now, for the image of ethical curator is that you don't make an artist say what he doesn't want to say.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's the idea of the pre-existence artwork and the message and the meaning which is already there, which you can somehow misinterpret.
So what are your 3 corners, so to speak, of the artwork?
The artist, and
The artist,
the representation of the artwork
yeah.
by curators.
And where is the audience? No one comes.
The audience didn't know.
Okay, that's the point. That's the point I was trying to.
Okay.
That there is no artwork without these 3 components. In the artwork, in the representational sense, without these 3 components: the artwork, the artist, and the audience, or the artwork, the artist, and the real. You can shift it around, but all 3 will have to be involved. Now, what is important, what kind of, the whole point of this conversation is to become tuned to the ideological power of this setup. I'm not talking about it with you because I want you to somehow take it as that's how we build an artwork. You have to have the 3 things like this. No, that's what always happens unintentionally. What is interesting in Karen Barad is that she's offering us strategies to get out of this rectangle, of this triangle, to get away from this pyramidal structure of representation and of art. Now, Luke, can we read one more sentence that starts from this taken for granted ontological? What ontological means in this case?
Foundation or something?
Huh?
Foundation.
Foundational, radical, final, complete, this kind of thing. Okay, so let's read the sentence, please.
This taken for granted ontological gap generates questions of the accuracy of representations. For example, does scientific knowledge accurately represent an independently existing reality? Does language accurately represent its referent? Does a given political representative, legal counsel, or piece of legislation accurately represent the interests of the people allegedly represented.
Okay, so how this way of questioning, how can you connect it to your practice?
Basically, does the artist have a right to represent the artwork completely correctly?
Because it says this taken for, what is taken for granted? What is taken for granted? What does it mean to take something for granted?
Assume.
To assume, not to question. When you take something for granted, you don't question. You take it as a given, as if it is natural or universal. Yeah? Some things that we take for granted shouldn't be taken for granted. Yeah? Okay, so this taken for granted gap generates questions of the accuracy of representations. Right. How that stands in relation to your practice.
You don't take something for granted.
What do you do? Why do you do?
You try not to.
Okay, we try not to. And
Is it the same as losing the authorship?
it could be, yes, not that. Yeah, yeah. I think it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Perhaps it is about somehow questioning the notion of authorship or the notion of individuality. But it also, isn't it, about something to do with the image as standing in for something? Yeah?
I think it's very interesting when you create something that in the beginning you have a very strong interest in something, like a more sensual approach to it, and then you make something and you so strongly hold on until a certain point towards making it like this and that, and then it's in the best way it's the case, it opens up and you see that there are so many different layers, and maybe the other layers are so much more richer than.
And can you explain how this way of thinking that you explained now very well, how it connects to your recent work?
So my present work?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I do the stuff in my head. I think like, okay, I want to do a non-physical space through light. Then you're like, okay, but this will be always the stakes. Then it comes from a picture. I can't just and I break my head what is inside of it, what I see in this picture. So then it's like light. Okay, so you have like red. So it's like if you just use one color, then it's a non-color. So if you do just the opposite, red and green, then you have a binary thing. So it's like always like dancing.
You're very good. Yeah, excellent. Did you hear that? Anyone else would like to say how you hear this in relation to your practice?
For me, when I'm
Yeah.
taking portraits, it's very important to get a wider emotional range.
Right.
In order to explore the object.
Okay. And how do you get a wider emotional range?
Through communication.
Okay. Communication with the model or with the
With the
system,
model,
yeah?
with the object, yeah.
Can I make a question?
Yes, Maria.
But how do you escape from, how do you cut the gap, fulfill the gap?
And that's exactly the question. What do you do? What we do about this assumed gap between representations and
Because
things
the
represented?
portrait will, even though emotional, whatever, is linked to the representation of the face of the person.
Correct. And that actually leads directly to the next segment. Luke, are you still okay?
Yeah.
Is that confusing? Can you actually, can you start again from this taken for granted and let's read until the end of the paragraph, which is 2 sentences.
Where is that?
Start this again from this taken for granted and just read till the end of the paragraph.
This taken for granted ontological gap generates questions of the accuracy of representations. For example, does scientific knowledge accurately represent an independently existing reality? Does language accurately represent its referent? Does a given political representative, legal counsel, or piece of legislation accurately represent the interests of the people allegedly represented?
And down the next paragraph, please.
Representationalism has received significant challenge from feminists, post-structuralists, and queer theorists. Names of Michael Foucault, Judith Butler are often associated with such questioning. Butler sums up the problematics of political representationalism as follows.
Are you following this? What does it say? What does it say in terms of the challenge or what is the issue with representation?
It's never going to be the right answer for the people that are involved.
It will never be the right answer for people who are not what?
There are no right answers, I think, because then you say that you already link it on another level.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's never going to be it's never going to satisfy everybody. They're going to be like.
But then you assume that there are like certain. It's more. I think it's more about like that you have a rope and it goes like that. So you unfold it, and it's not about like.
Well, what about this last sentence? Does a given political representative, legal counsel, or piece of legislation accurately represent the interests of the people allegedly represented?
No,
that very much reminds me of what is the sort of debate that is happening right now around Article 50 and what MPs supposed to be doing. Yeah, when there is people often quote Burke, who says that it is the role of the representative of the people not to just do what people want of the representative, but what the representative feels by their consciousness or whatever is the right thing to do. Yeah, so the representative doesn't necessarily need to represent, but do what is right. There is this kind of argument. Yeah, and Barad seems to be saying that the issue here is that representation is not a guarantee of accuracy.
It's because there's nothing to be accurate about. There is no such thing as single interests of people. There's all have multiple interests, which is what we see in Article 50. So she's saying it's not that representation will be inaccurate, but accuracy is a wrong objective.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Now, let's have a look here at what this little quotation. Actually, let's keep it. And go through this. So, at the moment, we're just investigating what might be the issue with representation.
Could be
Yes.
it's a sentence I don't remember this name, but the relation with the ground of the representation could be the same of the map and the territory. There was this communication which was saying the map is not the territory.
Yes.
And somehow.
That's Said. Said is saying it in his book Orientalism.
And when I read there also about the political, if it represents, it looks to me something similar because it's kind of not the law, the map of the territory which can be resumed also like a portrait, can't represent entirely the territory from which it comes.
Okay, good. Now, can you read from here? Representationalism is so deeply entrenched, and then we can go back to what Maria was just saying now.
Where is that?
It's, oh sorry, it's on page
48.
48, yes. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it?
Where is it comfortably?
You can be there.
Representationalism is so deeply entrenched within Western culture that it has taken on a common sense appeal.
Okay, what this means. Translation. Translation.
Rationality.
So
I
you
want-
take
I
it for
want-
granted, common sense is sort of taken for granted. It's so entrenched, it's obvious.
So yes, I just want everyone to hear it. Can you say it again?
Representationalism is so deeply entrenched within Western culture.
No. Just say your interpretation. Yeah.
Okay. That it's so entrenched that it's obvious and it's taken for granted.
Okay, what is taken for
Doesn't need
granted?
questioning.
What is taken for granted? The representation. Okay, yes. It's simple, but it's a very important point that representation is so, it's like the common sense notion of how images work. They work by representing. Therefore, that is never questioned. So in most photography courses, if you've ever been on a photography, the graduate course or postgraduate course, the question is always what to photograph. That's what people discuss. You know, what shall my project be about? No one ever questions whether the very representational principle is, you know, where is it coming from? That is always taken for granted. Yeah. Because it is taken for granted, the question is always about what should be the content, but not how the mechanism of representation operates in the first place. Can you read the next sentence? It seems inescapable.
It seems inescapable, if not downright natural. But representation.
What seems inescapable if not downright natural? Good. Yes. Next, please.
But representationalism, like nature itself, not merely our representations of it, has a history.
Okay. What does it mean to say that representation has a history?
That it's a construction.
It's a construct. That's right. And what else it means? It can change, yes. Like all cultural objects, it can be unmade. Yeah? It's not like the gravitational pull of the Earth or the Sun, which is a kind of given, but it is a cultural object. But you see, it's a cultural object that disguises itself as a natural object. It's a cultural object that pretends to be natural. Now, that's an interesting kind of object, isn't it? That walking around pretending to be natural, but in fact it is cultural. Yeah? Do you think representation is the only thing that disguises itself as natural, while in fact it isn't?
Government.
Yeah, human.
Government what?
Political leaders.
Yes, what? Well, are they pretending to be natural? Are they claiming to be like trees or like bees
Yeah,
or?
they're pretending to be like us.
Right. No. Let's. What does it mean? I mean, I would just.
I wonder if it's sort of from that the sense of a hierarchy, like an alpha male or a hierarchy, or in a human societal grouping, that hierarchy is just a natural fixed given.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Oppression often disguises itself as natural. That's why oppression is so effective, because it just appears as the law of nature. You know, for instance, the oppression of women by men. And when something is disguising itself as natural, it's very, very hard to engage with it, because what is the point of, let's say, marching against gravity or rain? It's sort of or disease. or getting older. You know, what is the point of going on a march against getting older? You're not going to stop it. If representation or oppression or exploitation are natural, then what is the point of getting out of the house? However, if it is possible to presuppose that they are perhaps cultural objects, cultural constructs, then it might make sense to do something about it. I think we're going to skip again a little bit. I don't know if we should read from hacking. Hacking is very interesting, but can I take us? But you do remember the image I showed quite often of from Dürer, of the draftsman drawing the woman. You remember that? Yeah? That's a very clear example in visual terms how this tripatriate device is working. So here, you again have the artist or the subject, the object or the woman, and the device that allows to translate the nature or the object into data, into a scientific event, something that can be verifiable, calculable, and repeatable. In other words, on page 49, Luke, could you read to us from here, in other words?
In other words, the asymmetrical faith we place in our access to representations over things is a historically and culturally contingent belief that is part of Western philosophy's legacy, and not a logical necessity. That is, it is simply a Cartesian habit of mind. It takes a healthy skepticism towards Cartesian doubt to be able to begin to see an alternative.
Okay, so I want them to see both side by side. Now, Luke, can I ask you to read this again in the same, in other words, the same little paragraph here, and see how that maps out onto this image. Let's do it again, please.
In other words, the asymmetrical faith we place in our access to representations over things.
Where is the asymmetry here? Can you see asymmetry in this image? The asymmetrical faith. What is asymmetrical faith?
It's not equal.
It's inadequate.
Yeah.
Well, inadequate is not the right word. What does it mean to say about something that is asymmetrical?
It's different.
It's not. One side is stronger than the other. That's what is asymmetrical warfare? When one side is much more powerful than the other. Yeah? Or when one side uses a different tactic to that. That's asymmetrical. Yeah? So why is that image? Can you say that this image is asymmetrical?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she's bigger.
Who is bigger?
Sorry, left.
Okay, that's one way. Yeah, but that's not the one that the text is talking about.
The man is actually taking the action, and the woman is portrayed as
the man is looking at the woman. He is measuring. He is scientifically using the scientific instrument to study the woman. Yeah, he is doing this. She is just there as an object. Yeah. By the way, you can see where the notion of objectification is coming from. Yeah, making someone into an object is not simply. It's obviously connected with representation. Yeah? The representation makes the woman into an object because she is now being represented. But that's the same thing as saying that she is being objectified. And what does it mean to objectify someone?
Turning into an object.
To make them into an object. Yeah? When you objectify someone, you make them into an object. What does it mean in political terms to objectify someone?
To dehumanize them.
To dehumanize them, yeah. To take away, very good, yeah, to take away their humanity, to see them as a thing. Yeah? And there is another word for objectification, which is reification. If you ever studied in Marxism in the evening class, you came across reification from the Latin word res, thing. Yeah? And like res publica, res, thing. Reification is thingification, making someone into a thing, making someone into an object. Yeah? And so I want you to be somehow tuned to this complexity, that whenever something is being made into an object, whenever objectification is taking place, whenever something is being reified, yeah, representation is involved. So representation is never just innocent picture making. It always involves the will for asymmetry, in which one side dominates the other, and in which the dominated is, as was said here earlier, loses their humanity and appears as a thing.
So representation is not as equal as we are thinking. I mean, it's
Who
not...
are we?
We. Me. I'm sorry. Because in some way, one side is stronger than the other, so that means
Let's
that
see,
it's not...
let's see. So, because we only read the first three words here. We have symmetrical faith. Yeah? Now look, can you continue? Or stop again?
Start again, okay. In other words, the asymmetrical faith we place in our access to representations over things is a historically and culturally contingent belief that is part of Western philosophy's legacy and not a logical necessity. That is, it is simply a Cartesian habit of mind.
Okay, stop here for a second. What is a Cartesian habit of mind? What is Cartesianism? Wait a second, I want someone else. What is Cartesianism? Rational thinking, I think, therefore I am correct. But in the most simple terms, Cartesianism is dualism. Yeah? And what is the dualism? Is subject and object. Yeah? You with me? Cartesianism? Okay, so what is this Cartesian habit of mind? Where is the Cartesian habit of mind here? This image.
Is the separate?
That's right. Yeah, it's a separation. Here is the, you know the Cartesian, the famous Descartes slogan, cogito ergo sum. That means I think, therefore I am. But it means not I think, therefore I am. It means I doubt, therefore I am. And I think we spoke about it in the past. That the Cartesian, Descartes was seeking a solid foundation for his philosophy. And he said, well, because I can doubt anything, the only solid thing I can take as the ground on which to base my philosophy is doubt itself. Because I can doubt that I'm awake, I can doubt that you are for real, I cannot doubt the fact that I am doubting. Doubt is what you do in thought. So the thought then becomes the real, the foundation. Yet thought, in a sense, acquires the status of something natural. Yeah? And because representation, like doubt,